Even a little smoke affects the heart and blood vessels. This isn't meant to be alarmist. We carefully considered the appropriateness of presenting this type of content, especially given the recent wildfires. This information is both relevant and important for many people. More than that, it highlights the undeniable connection between our environment and our health. In today's video, we'll explore the cardiovascular risks associated with wildfire smoke, focusing on a study titled Protecting Cardiovascular Health from Wildfire Smoke. This is not medical advice and is only for education and entertainment purposes. Recent research shows that exposure to wildfire smoke can trigger cardiovascular events such as heart attacks and even sudden death. What's more, the exposure doesn't need to be significant. Researchers have identified several mechanisms that explain how wildfire smoke impacts cardiovascular health. These include inflammation, oxidative stress, and imbalances in the autonomic nervous system, all of which can worsen pre-existing cardiovascular conditions. Wildfire smoke is produced when plants and other organic materials burn without fully combusting. Wood, for example, contains cellulose, lignin, resins, waxes, sugars, and salts. When burned, these substances release a complex mixture of gases and microscopic particles. This mix includes particulate matter, volatile organic compounds, and nitrogen oxides, which can react with sunlight to form harmful ozone gas. The exact composition of wildfire smoke depends on several factors: the type of material being burned, its moisture content, the fire's intensity, and even the weather. When wildfires spread into urban areas, the burning of man-made materials like plastics releases additional toxic chemicals, further compounding the health risks. The American Heart Association reviewed hundreds of studies and found strong evidence linking PM 2.5 exposure to heart problems, including increased risks of heart attacks and strokes. Studies on air pollution show that inhaling PM 2.5 damages tiny air sacs in the lungs called alveoli, leading to oxidative stress and triggering the body's immune response. This inflammation can impair small blood vessels, causing blood to clot more easily and disrupting how your heart controls its rhythm. The AHA points to PM 2.5 exposure from any source, including wildfires, is directly tied to more cardiovascular illnesses and deaths. Research specifically on wildfire smoke, which often includes burning wood and plant matter, has shown similar results. Human studies find that wildfire smoke exposure increases the stiffness of large arteries and raises levels of inflammatory markers like fibrinogen, which is linked to clotting. Proteins associated with inflammation, such as IL-1 beta and TNF-alpha, are also elevated. Certain conditions, like pre-existing inflammation or exposure to other pollutants such as ozone, can worsen these effects by weakening the body's defenses. Cofactors, including pulmonary and heat stress, as well as psychological stress, further increase the risks. In addition, lab experiments show that wildfire smoke can harm cells directly, causing DNA damage, cell death, and disruptions in the cell cycle. What are the specific cardiovascular risks linked to wildfire smoke? Let's get to the findings. First up, increased blood pressure. Studies confirm a direct link between short-term exposure to wildfire smoke and blood pressure spikes. For instance, during forest fires, people often report temporary increases in their blood pressure. Next, let's talk about our arteries. Long-term exposure to air pollution, including PM 2.5, is associated with atherosclerosis, a condition where fatty deposits build up in arteries. These deposits can harden or become unstable, increasing the risk of heart attacks and strokes. Research shows that breathing in wildfire smoke can make these plaques more likely to rupture. This is especially dangerous because it can lead to sudden, severe cardiovascular events like strokes or heart attacks. Studies on indoor wood burning have linked it to thicker artery walls and more plaque buildup. Even brief exposure to wildfire smoke can be dangerous for people with existing heart problems or hidden plaque in their arteries. These individuals may experience an increased risk of strokes or acute coronary syndromes. And risks may be even greater for long-term exposure. Prolonged air pollution exposure has been linked to other health problems like diabetes, obesity, and heart failure. though these effects are less studied in wildfire smoke specifically. Long-term exposure can lead to increased risk of cardiovascular mortality and decreases in life expectancy. This finding is particularly important for firefighters and first responders who spend longer than average periods exposed to smoke. So what can you do? There are steps you can take to protect yourself and your family. First, limit your exposure. Stay indoors when air quality is poor. If possible, temporarily relocate to unaffected areas, especially vulnerable populations like children, the elderly, and those already at risk of cardiovascular problems. Next, clean your air. Masks like N95 respirators can filter out PM 2.5 particles. Use air purifiers with HEPA filters to reduce indoor pollution. Regularly change filters in cars, air purifiers, and furnaces. And finally, wash and clean. Pollution, being a tiny solid, settles on surfaces, including hair, clothing, and furniture. Wash thoroughly and clean surfaces to reduce exposure. Wear gloves and masks when cleaning to avoid stirring up dust. Remember, our bodies are incredibly good at adapting and healing. Taking even small steps can have a big impact on both physical and mental wellness, which also can be an alleviating factor. Here at Science Behind Headlines, we are sending our thoughts and prayers to all affected by these horrific wildfires throughout the world. We hope by bringing science to the forefront, we can do our tiniest part of encouraging positive environmental change. In our next video, we will cover the link between wildfire smoke and epigenetic aging. Please subscribe to our channel for updates and help us spread awareness by sharing this video. We'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences. Join the conversation in the comments. Stay informed and stay curious.